Hello. I think you've just caught me having a private moment there. That is the wonderful track. It's one of the tracks of my years, if that isn't borrowing from a great radio presenter from another network. Atmospherics, Listen to the Radio is the name of the track. And when I first heard it back in the 1980s, I could really resonate with that idea of lying down on your bed. I would imagine of a Sunday afternoon, just listening to the radio and kind of escaping a little bit from the strains and pressures of your life, escaping through great music and being alone. In fact, that was written by somebody who had to leave the country a little bit rapidish, and he escaped to Berlin, and he was pondering the mysteries of his future with use of tobacco, and I can resonate with that, although not to be recommended these days. I'm thinking of my dim and distant past when the radio was turned on, the smouldering six finger, and a cup of coffee for company. All of which brings me to, do you like me get up, by the way? I think I've spruced up all right today, and definitely enjoyed the full benefits of flashing white porcelain after returning from the Glastonbury Festival. And that is the subject of this week's Dom's Diary, as I enjoy one conversation with the singer-songwriter who created that awesome piece of work. So for now, it's right into the heart of the festival. Well, I'm backstage at Avalon, and I've got to say, I have returned to the Glastonbury Festival this year for the first time since 2013 for a very special reason, and to come and see my lifelong hero. I'm sorry to put it that way to you, but there we go. nothing like the complimentary entry point to it.
No, you can come again.
Tom Robinson, everybody. Tom Robinson! And you are here as part of your 70th birthday tour, though it got a little bit delayed, didn't it?
It did, yeah. I had a 70th birthday tour all set up for 2020, and then COVID happened, and so we put it to 2021, and then COVID happened, so we put it to 2022, and then at the end of the tour, they said, would you like to play Glastonbury? We said, well, wouldn't mind if it's the Avalon stage. Sounds good.
Excellent. So it's really your 72.
72, yeah. Now, good, well and truly. And so I've got my walking stick. I've got my old age pension pass. Just for ID, you need to show your travel pass and stuff.
And how is it for you touring these days? You've been on the road for around about 40 years, I think.
I have been on the road 45 years in total, but I have to say it's the best it's ever been, because I've been blessed by having in later life a really, really red-hot band that I've worked with for 22, 23, 24 years now, those same musicians. So the early bands only ever lasted a couple of years because we were all kind of nutcases at the time, and the bands had the seeds of their own destruction built into them. So the bands that created a lot of that early music were, absolutely on fire, but so were we backstage.
One of the things and it's great. It's great that you're enjoying it so much, because you were the voice of youth for a generation. I described Power in the Darkness, your first great kind of opus, as the anti-Thatcher album that came out a couple of years before Margaret Thatcher went to Downing Street.
Well, we were kind of the Marmite of our generation. So, some people really liked what we did, and some people loathed it. And it wasn't for everyone. But I don't know. On the whole, it's worked out all right somehow.
You stood for so many things that seem to have come now into the mainstream. It was out there, rock against racism, gay rights, and you wrote what many saw at the time as, I suppose, the great gay anthem, Glad to Be Gay. Although when we've talked in the past, I said, to me that doesn't strike me so much as a gay anthem as just being a statement of people being who they need to be, obviously within the law.
Well, thinking about my heroes, Public Enemy, Fight the Power, you don't have to be black to join in with that or for it to speak to you, but it is a black anthem, and so it's it's come out of a certain community, but it has a wider appeal.
As I've just interrupted you, but you've often said on stage you don't have to be gay to enjoy somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, freedom is indivisible. You either live in a free and a fair society or you don't. And there's no point saying that LGBT rights should be respected, but then saying that people of different cultures or different skin colours are lesser than the kind of white majority. And there's no point saying you want gay men to be able to get married, but a woman's place is in the home. It all goes together. That you've got to be for Me Too, you've got to be for BLM, and you've got to be for Me Too, you've got to be for Black Lives Matter, which they do, and it's all part and parcel.
Where do you feel the situation is now? And I'm thinking in the context of perhaps more restrictions on freedom of speech that you get say, in university campuses.
Yeah, I mean, freedom of speech is freedom of speech, and so you have to go with even though I profoundly disagree with what you say, I respect your right to say it, because it goes underground if you don't allow it out, and you end up with these kind of QAnon channels where the purest poison is getting spread unmonitored because it's been driven underground. I'd rather hear that stuff out in the open and be able to combat it and refute it.
You were there back in '77 when music was changing so fast. The youth movements were vibrant, energetic. It felt like new times. Here you are, now in your 70s, up at the Field of Avalon. Who comes to see you, and what is their expectation?
Well, as I say, having had the same band since the late 20th century, it means that we work as a unit and generate a kind of an excitement between ourselves to actually have the buzz of playing with each other, and I think the people that have been coming for the last 20 years know that and know what to expect, and they know that the lyrics are going to be updated and that the thing is going to reflect long-standing timeless values, but with a sort of modern edge and sensibility to it, hopefully.
I think I once saw a conversation with you which you confessed your favourite song was in fact Grey Cortina.
Yeah, I've always said it was Grey Cortina because it had a very simple and small, limited thing to say. I wish I had a Grey Cortina, whiplash aerial, racing trim, Cortina owner, no one, me no wish that I could be like him. I mean, message delivered in minimum number of syllables.
I was going to say, it's a perfect kind of teenage aspiration there somewhere, isn't it?
It was an early 20s aspiration. I was 23, 24 when I wrote it, and I was 27 when it finally got recorded. But, in terms of songwriting challenge, then that one delivered what I was trying to do. In terms of personal satisfaction, I think probably the song War Baby means the most, because I'm still trying to figure out what it means even now after all these years.
It's the most beautiful song, and I love the longer version of it.
I was going to say that is actually my favourite version, because the 12-inch version was a completely different recording, completely different arrangement from the single that people know. And so if people love that 7-inch single that came out and that was on the radio, then do dive in and get the 12-inch version, because it's much deeper and darker and more mysterious, and it's got extra words in it.
That summer, '83, I was 17 in Edinburgh for the first time. That's when I saw you up at the Assembly Rooms, and it seemed to me that was sort of representing a more kind of maturing, soulful side of your songwriting.
Yeah, I think any artist starting out has to focus what they do so that it's a clear identity and a clear thing that you kind of ask people to buy into. And so TRB, the Tom Robinson Band, was a club that you could join. It was an idea, it was a gang you could belong to. And so you necessarily, in order to choose one direction, have to discard a lot of other directions that you could potentially go down. So a lot of the trouble that artists starting out have is that they try to do too many things at once and mix styles and genres, and you don't create something people would want to wear on a T-shirt. So after I'd had the luxury of being a one-hit wonder with the TRB and getting an audience, I was then able to say to the audience, well, come over here, we can also do this, see what you think of this. And there, bit by bit, you find out what people like and what people don't like.
It's so wonderful talking to you, Tom. Much of my work is radio themed, and we explore the educational value, the social value of local radio, community media, that kind of thing. So I feel our conversation is not complete until I ask you about your career as a radio presenter, and how does that kind of complement your place in the world?
It's accidental that I tumbled into radio presenting in the 1980s because a BBC World Service producer came backstage and said really enjoyed the show, and I thought, oh, great, she liked my music. She said, I really like the bits between the songs where you talk to the audience. You've got a good voice for radio. So yeah, I ended up getting a full-time job in the early noughties when Six Music was formed, and they asked me if I wanted to come and do the evening show 4 nights a week. And I said, sorry, I can't do that because I have to go out and tour to put bread on the table. And they said, well, how much do you get paid for that? And it wasn't very much. And they said, well, we'll pay you that. And so I was able to stop touring and sleep in my own bed and know where the next paycheck was coming from. So that was great. But the big discovery then, moving away from my side of things into your side of things, was that it's the same job. It's still communication. It's still sharing ideas, sharing what's in your heart with people, except in this case, what's in your heart is, I love this new choral record. The Streets album is amazing. Ms. Dynamite, check this out. So you're sharing your enthusiasms of other people's work and helping other people's careers as well. And gradually, as I've moved towards BBC Introducing and playing people who are overlooked by the record industry, people who are completely under the radar, and bringing them to a minority audience. Obviously, I'm only in the middle of the night doing a small show and a podcast. But it's such a joy, because every single record you play is going to make a difference to somebody's life as a musician, that they will feel validated, and also to the listeners' lives, that they'll go, oh my God, that is brilliant, and they go to the website, they sign up to the mailing list, and they become part of that support, that they become part of that musician's gang again. And that's the joy of is bringing the consumer together with the creator, putting them in touch, and getting the hell out of the way, so you don't have the music industry in between creaming off its profits.
Well, I'm a consumer, and I'm here for the product, and I can't wait to see you on stage.
Dom, you're a star.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Well, the awesome Tom Robinson there. Do you get the impression? I'm a little bit of a fan. What a fantastic thing that was, spending that time with him just before his evening gig at the Field of Avalon on Saturday. And just sitting all cozy in there as this mayhem madness of one of the largest festivals in the world was going on all around us. My thanks to Tom there. And that brings us to the end, I think, of this week's Dom's Diary. Do place any comments, do subscribe. Good to have your feedback and good to have some ideas for future videos. But for now, we'll leave it there.